Truistery Vibes warmly welcomes all our beloved listeners. We're so glad to see you again in our familiar time slot.
Today,
Truistery Vibes brings you a brand new story, one that we hope will touch your heart and stay with you. As you listen, feel free to leave a comment sharing the quote or moment that left the deepest impression on you. Wishing you a wonderful and meaningful listening experience. Evelyn Grace Hawthorne's shift ended with the familiar clang of the factory whistle and the hum of fluorescent lights powering down. She peeled the last thread of navy denim from her sleeve, clocked out of bluegrass textiles, and stepped into a Kentucky night thick with July heat. The company parking lot smelled of asphalt and old coffee, and the cicadas were already rehearsing their midnight anthem. Her battered Ford Fiesta coughed awake on the third try. 2 stoplights later, the downtown strip of Milford vanished in the rearview mirror, replaced by soybean fields and the silver slash of the Cumberland River. She rolled the windows halfway to let in the warm breeze and convince herself she wasn't tired. It was 11:47 p.m. She'd been up since 5. The duplex she rented from her mother-in-law squatted at the end of Mockingbird Lane, a sagging 2-story with peeling paint and a porch swing that squeaked even when no one sat on it. Evelyn eased into the gravel drive and exhaled. Please let tonight be quiet, she thought, but hope dissolved the moment she opened the front door. A sour cocktail of whiskey, cheap beer, and cold grease smacked her senses. Aluminum cans rolled beneath her sneakers. Styrofoam boxes spilled congealed chili over the carpet. In the dim hallway light, she saw him, Mason Riley Caldwell, sprawled on the living room rug like a fallen scarecrow, one hand still wrapped around a bottle of Jefferson Hollow bourbon. Evelyn closed the door gently, but a late summer gust snapped it back. The wooden edge caught her right hand. Pain flared, and she jerked free, a thin line of crimson blooming across her knuckle. Instinctively, she pressed the wound to her apron, sucked in a breath, then stepped over Mason's muddy work boots and began collecting the debris of his Friday night. From the back bedroom came Dolores Caldwell's raspy voice. "Midnight already? You think supper serves itself, girl?" The 60-year-old wielded her tongue like a paring knife, small, sharp, relentless. Evelyn said nothing. Words never helped. They only poured kerosene on an open flame. She knelt, ignoring the fresh throb in her finger, and dropped crusted French fries into a black trash bag. She found a cracked plate, Mason's phone, a pair of dice he'd bought when he was gonna get serious about poker. Every promise turned gimmick lived here, waiting to cut her barefoot at dawn. A soft patter behind her. Small, bare feet. 8-year-old Arlo stood in Spider-Man pajamas, hair sticking in every direction. "Mom, your hand," he whispered. He hurried to the linen closet, retrieved a junior first aid kit Santa had left in his stocking, and returned with tiny bandages decorated with cartoon puppies. "Thanks, buddy," Evelyn whispered. She forced a smile as he wrapped her knuckle in 2 awkward layers. His concentration was surgical, his lower lip jutted with determination. When he finished, she kissed his forehead. "Back to bed, doctor." Arlo hesitated. From the floor, Mason stirred. A string of slurred syllables tumbled out as he staggered upright, gripping the sofa arm for balance. Under the overhead lamp his eyes were glassy, his cheeks blotched red. "Well, look who's home," he muttered. "Working late to impress the boss, huh? Or were you off with that college boy you used to moon over?" Evelyn kept her voice measured. "I was at the plant, Mason. Same as always." "Don't lie to me." He pointed, more wobble than accusation. "Everything lousy in my life is your darn fault." "Mason, please." Arlo's awake. "So what? Kid needs to learn how the real world talks." Dolores shuffled in, robe pulled tight, hair in pink curlers. "I told you, Evelyn," she barked. "A wife who stays out past 11 is a wife forgetting her place." Evelyn inhaled, counted 3 beats. "I'll clean up. You both should sleep." Mason laughed, a brittle sound. "Clean?
Sure.
That's all you're good at." He lurched forward, bottle still in hand. Arlo stepped instinctively between them, arms spread like a miniature shield. "Dad, stop." His voice trembled but held. For a moment, the room froze. Mason's gaze flicked from son to wife. Some pocket of conscience flickered. He lowered the bottle, cursed under his breath, and collapsed back onto the sofa cushions. Within seconds he was snoring. Dolores clicked her tongue. "Boy's soft as pudding when he's sober," she muttered, then turned on her heel and disappeared down the hallway. Evelyn exhaled shaky relief. She placed a hand on Arlo's shoulder. "You handled that like a champ," she said. He nodded but didn't smile. They worked silently. Evelyn collected cans. Arlo fetched the recycling bin. The wall clock dripped seconds like morphine, slow, deliberate, numbing. At 12:32 a.m., the living room resembled something human again. Evelyn sent Arlo back to bed, promising pancakes in the morning. Alone, she sat on the edge of the recliner and examined her bandaged hand. The puppy smiled back at her. The irony stung more than the cut. A single fly wandered over Mason's empty glass, and outside, a freight train rolled along the riverbank, a hollow whistle echoing through Milford's sleeping streets. Evelyn's eyes drifted to the family photo on the mantel, taken 6 years earlier. Before the bills, before the bourbon, before promises sagged like the porch swing. Mason was slimmer then, hair sun-bleached from roofing jobs, grin as wide as the Ohio. She looked reckless and happy, standing barefoot in a borrowed sundress, pregnant with possibilities and perhaps too much faith. How did we get here so fast? She wondered. And how many more nights like this until we don't get out at all? Her phone buzzed. A text from coworker Tessa. "Got home safe? Let me know." Evelyn thumbed a reply. "Yeah, same old circus. Thanks for checking." She hesitated, then added, "Tell me tomorrow how to start a food cart, okay?" She hit send before fear vetoed courage. The idea had germinated in her head for months. A biscuit and burrito cart outside the middle school. A quick breakfast, extra cash, a step toward freedom. She'd saved $5,000 in a jar behind Mason's hunting trophies. In 3 more paychecks, she could order the stainless steel cart she'd bookmarked online. Thunder rumbled in the distance, late summer storm rolling over the river. It sounded like kettle drums. Evelyn rose, locked the deadbolt, clicked off the lamp, and tiptoed down the hallway. In Arlo's room, she lingered a moment. He slept curled like a comma, the innocence of deep breathing rising and falling beneath a quilt his great-grandma had stitched. She brushed hair from his forehead, whispered, "I've got you," and meant it with every frayed thread of her being. Back in the master bedroom, Mason sprawled diagonally across the mattress. Evelyn took the quilt from the foot of the bed and stretched out on the farthest edge, back turned, gaze fixed on the cracked ceiling. Rain began tapping the window pane. She counted the drops for a while, 1, 2, 100, until numbers blurred into prayer, and prayer blurred into exhaustion. Just before sleep claimed her, a new thought surfaced, clear, steady, stubborn as an oak root. "Tomorrow, I start building a different life." The storm answered with a soft roll of thunder, as if nodding permission. Morning tiptoed into Milford under a sky the color of watered milk. Evelyn woke to the smell of damp drywall and the ache in her bruised shoulder, souvenirs from Mason's drunken tumble the night before. She slipped from the mattress, without stirring him, padded to the kitchen, and whisked batter for the promised pancakes. The stovetop hissed, butter sizzled, silver dollar rounds browned like small suns. For 13 precious minutes the house felt almost gentle. Arlo shuffled in, eyes still gummy with sleep. "Morning, champ," she said, flipping a cake onto his plate. "Morning, Mom." He rubbed one knee, inspecting last night's scuffle like a scientist cataloging samples. "You think Dad will remember anything?" Evelyn swallowed. "Probably not, and that's okay. Eat up. Big day ahead." While Arlo drowned a stack in syrup, Evelyn fetched a mason jar hidden behind a box of outdated cereal on the top shelf. 40 crisp $20 bills stared back. $800 so far. 5,000 feels like Everest, she thought, but every climb starts with the first foothold. She twisted the lid closed and tucked it away, heart thumping at the risk of being discovered. Arlo's school bus groaned away at 7:05. By 7:10, Mason emerged, bleary-eyed, the odor of stale whiskey clinging like cheap cologne. He mumbled something that could have been sorry or coffee. Evelyn poured him a mug anyway, habit, muscle memory, maybe mercy. He gripped the cup, stared at the swirling steam, then muttered, "You always make things look easy, Ev." "Hardly," she answered. The engine of his pickup coughed to life moments later, and by 7:25 he was gone, dust rising behind him down Mockingbird Lane. Silence settled, and with it, memory. 18-year-old Evelyn had once believed her world stretched far beyond county lines. She'd met Declan Reyes during junior college orientation in Lexington, a soft-spoken veterinary student who smelled of cedar and notebook paper. They studied under sycamore trees, shared midnight milkshakes at Boone's Diner, and sketched a pie-in-the-sky blueprint. Graduate, rent a farmhouse near the river, adopt rescue dogs, maybe plant an apple orchard. But Milford ran on old rails: faith, family, familiarity. Rails her parents insisted were too narrow for city dreams. When Mason Caldwell started showing up at the Hawthorne produce stand, flashing his sawmill muscles and buying peaches he never ate, Evelyn's father took notice. "Boys from good stock," Earl Hawthorne said one humid Sunday, wiping sweat from his brow. "Caldwell family's been here since the Civil War. A man who lives next door can lend a hand quicker than one who lives 2 hours away." Evelyn tried logic. "Declan's finishing school. He'll have a stable job." Her mother countered with fear. "Stable? Vet school means debt, honey. Mason's got a trade. Carpentry never goes out of style. Weekend after weekend." Mason stayed polite. Fixed loose fence boards, replaced a squeaky porch hinge, laughed at Earl's corny jokes. Declan, buried in exams, could only phone on Sunday nights, his voice tinny through spotty reception. One evening, after Mason helped haul a busted tractor tire up the driveway, Earl pulled Evelyn aside. "We owe that boy our thanks," he said. "Wouldn't hurt to give him a chance." A chance morphed into courtship at lightning speed. Declan begged for patience. "One more semester," he pleaded over the phone. "Then I can prove myself." But weddings move faster than degrees in small towns, especially when a mother decides to reserve the church hall just in case. In autumn, leaves turned copper and vows were exchanged beneath a steeple older than indoor plumbing. Evelyn still has the wedding album hidden in a dresser drawer. She remembers the itchy lace, Mason's cologne sharp enough to sting. She also remembers the honeymoon suite in Gatlinburg, a faux stone fireplace, a jacuzzi that never filled, and the moment Mason's jovial grin cracked like brittle glass. He'd found an old Polaroid, Evelyn on campus with Declan, both laughing under a line of string lights. Rage flared behind Mason's eyes. "Is this why you hesitated marrying me?" "Because of him." Evelyn blinked, caught off guard. "It was just a picture, Mason. We were friends." "You wore his jacket," he growled, pointing to the photo. "How many others don't I know about?" The first slap stunned more than hurt. The second knocked the Polaroid from her hand. It fluttered to the shag carpet like a wounded moth. Mason's voice wobbled between fury and remorse. "I'm sorry. I just can't stand the thought of you with somebody else." He sobbed, begged forgiveness, swore it would never happen again. 2 days later they returned to Milford. Evelyn buried the bruise under concealer, buried the photo under a loose floorboard, and buried her orchard dreams under the daily churn of bills and dinners and Mason's fits of jealousy. Declan's calls dwindled. She let them ring into silence. A car horn outside yanked Evelyn back to the present. The clock read 8:12 a.m., time to change into her denim uniform and start the Saturday shift that paid overtime. She scribbled a note for Arlo to see after school, chicken nuggets in the freezer. "I'll be home by 5. Love you more than pancakes." She added a smiley face with sunglasses, the emoji he used in every text. Before leaving, Evelyn checked the hiding place one more time. The jar was still there, Bill's snug. She pressed her fingers to the cool glass. It's not an orchard, she thought, but it's a seed. Outside, the rising sun lit the river in pale gold. Cicadas tuned up for their afternoon concert. Somewhere a hawk cried. Evelyn started the fiesta, eased into first gear, and drove toward Bluegrass Textiles with a resolve she hadn't felt in years. Mason's anger, Dolores's criticism, her parents' narrow map of life. None could stop this tiny sprout of hope pushing through cracked soil. Tomorrow might bring another storm, but today she would keep saving, keep planning, keep breathing. She owed that much to the girl who once believed in apple orchards, and even more to the boy who still believed pancakes could fix the world. Bluegrass Textiles let Evelyn off an hour early. Time and a half had sweetened her paycheck, but fluorescent lights still buzzed behind her eyelids. By 4:30 she was back on Mockingbird Lane, parking beside Dolores's powder blue Buick. The porch swing rocked though no wind blew. Someone had recently sat there, probably plotting dinner seating like a general arranging troops. Inside, the house smelled of lemon polish layered over stale liquor. Dolores stood at the kitchen island, rolling dough for her famous chicken and dumplings, elbow deep in flour, lipstick freshly painted. She wore pearls the way royalty wore crowns. "You're late," she said without looking up. Evelyn glanced at the clock. 4:42 p.m. "I left work early, actually." Dolores huffed. "Early? Late, same thing when you keep folks waiting. Finn and Brielle will be here any minute. Tidy the den. Last night's mess still haunts that carpet." Evelyn opened her mouth to remind Dolores whose mess it had been, then closed it. She slipped off her denim jacket and moved to the living room. The floor was spotless. She'd scrubbed it at dawn, but she straightened pillows anyway, the choreography of compliance. Arlo burst down the hallway holding a plastic raptor painted neon green.
"Mom, look."
Mr. Razorclaw learned a backflip. He spun the toy through the air. Dolores called from the kitchen, "Arlo, honey, remember, your cousin Ryder is 4. Let him play with whatever he likes. Sharing makes you a gentleman." Arlo's shoulders dipped. Evelyn squeezed his hand. "We'll figure it out," she whispered. The front door swung open at 5 sharp. Finn Caldwell, Mason's baby brother, strode in wearing a blazer that cost more than Evelyn's monthly rent. Beside him floated Brielle Sterling Caldwell, social media sparkle incarnate. Draped in pastel silk, phone in perpetual selfie mode. Their son Ryder ran ahead, a tornado in sock monkey pajamas despite the summer heat. Dolores descended on them with theatrical delight. "My babies. Finn, darling, you look so handsome. Brielle, that dress is a masterpiece." She hugged Ryder next, smearing flour on the boy's cheek. "There's Nana's little star." Finn nodded at Evelyn. Polite, distant. Brielle offered a quick smile, friendly but distracted as she checked her livestream comments. Visiting the in-laws #FamilySaturday scrolled across the screen. Arlo stepped forward, clutching Razorclaw. "Want to see my Dino?" Ryder's eyes lit up. He grabbed the raptor before Arlo fully released it. Plastic claws scraped Arlo's knuckles. Ryder crowed, "Mine now," and zoomed down the hall like a rocket. Dolores chuckled. "Isn't he a firecracker?" "Arlo, sweetheart, you're older. Let the little one have fun." Arlo opened his mouth to protest, thought better, retreated to Evelyn's side. She felt his heartbeat through his sleeve. Dinner stretched like taffy. Dolores peppered Finn with questions about his new management position at the Lexington tech firm. Brielle described last week's brand collab brunch in Nashville. Bottomless lavender lattes, it's a vibe. Evelyn passed dishes, refilled glasses, and counted Mason's empty chair. Her husband hadn't texted since morning. She pictured him nursing a beer at Grover's Tavern, rationalizing another broken promise. Dolores tapped a spoon on her water glass. "Brielle, dear, you must share your secret. Look how flawless you are after a 2-hour drive." Brielle laughed, cheeks pink under ring light memories. Serum with vitamin C and a little ring light filter. Dolores turned to Evelyn. "Maybe our girl here could borrow that filter. Hard labor ages a face quick." A pulse beat in Evelyn's ear. She smiled thinly. "Heavy moisture." Finn cut in. "Mom, come on." He eyed his plate. "Evelyn works brutal shifts, yet she looks great." Dolores waved a dismissive hand. I'm only teasing. The teasing felt like gravel in Evelyn's mouth, but she swallowed it. After cobbler, Brielle offered to help clear, only for Dolores to raise both palms. Oh no, honey. Let Evelyn handle the dishes. She's used to it. The pearls flashed, conversation moved on. In the kitchen sink, warm water and soap foamed over blueberry stains. Through the doorway, Evelyn heard Dolores brag about Ryder's private preschool and Finn's Tesla pre-order. Arlo stood beside her. Drying plates too big for his hands. He whispered, "Mom, can we get my Dino back?" After dessert, she promised, although dessert had passed. We'll ask nicely. When the last spoon clinked into the rack, they ventured into the den. Ryder sat on the couch, feet kicking the fabric, razor claw clutched upside down. "Hey, Ryder," Arlo said gently. "Could I borrow my dinosaur for bedtime? I'll bring it back tomorrow." Ryder hugged the toy tighter. "Nah." Brielle, perched in an accent chair, glanced over her phone. "Ryder, sweetie, share with your cousin." The boy's lower lip trembled, storm clouds gathering. Dolores swooped in. "It's okay. Let him keep it tonight. Arlo has plenty of toys, right?" Arlo's lashes fluttered. Glistening. Evelyn knelt. "It's all right, champ. Mr. Razorclaw can have a sleepover." Arlo swallowed hard, nodded. Dolores beamed, oblivious or unconcerned. From outside, gravel popped under tires. Mason's pickup. The front door opened with a thud. He smelled of stale beer and bar grill smoke, but remained upright, which counted as progress. Dolores fluttered over. "You missed supper, son." Mason shrugged, spotted Finn, offered a lopsided grin. "Traffic on the bypass." Finn's brow lifted. There was no bypass in Milford. Still, he clapped Mason's shoulder. "No worries, brother. Mom's saved you a plate." Evelyn hoped for, she wasn't sure, an apology, a smile, any sign Mason remembered last night. Instead he asked, "Beer left?" and strolled to the fridge. By 9, Ryder's meltdown over bedtime ended the visit. Brielle gathered designer diaper bag. Finn loaded leftovers into the Tesla rental. Dolores wept cinematic tears at the curb. "Come back soon. Stay the whole weekend next time." When taillights vanished, Dolores pivoted, exhaustion turning her voice brittle. "Evelyn, make sure the guest bathroom's spotless before Sunday service. Can't have folks thinking we live like slobs." Mason lumbered to the recliner, beer in hand, TV remote poised. "Lighten up, Ma. House looks fine." Dolores snorted. That's because Evelyn spent her Saturday polishing it instead of fixing herself up. She stalked to her room, slippers snapping against hardwood. Living room shadows lengthened. Commercial jingles filled space where conversation should live. Arlo leaned into Evelyn's side, cheek warm against her ribs. "You okay?" she whispered. He nodded, though his eyes stayed fixed on the doorway where Razorclaw had disappeared. Evelyn's own chest ached, not just for the lost toy, but for every little dignity she surrendered to keep the peace. Tonight had illustrated the hierarchy: Dolores's pride, Finn's promotion, Brielle's brand, Ryder's whims. Then, somewhere below carpet level, Evelyn and Arlo. Yet seeds were still seeds. $800 rested in a jar no one knew about. Tomorrow, after church chatter faded, she would count the bills again and maybe add 2 more 20s. One day soon, she and her son would ride away from Mockingbird Lane in a cart that smelled of butter and possibility, and on that day Mr. Razorclaw could have an entire shelf of friends. For now, she whispered, "Good night, champ," led Arlo to bed, and faced another Kentucky moon with quiet, stubborn hope. Sunday morning in Milford always smelled of spicebush and gasoline. Evelyn steered the Fiesta into the parking lot of Redemption Fellowship just as the bells chimed 8:30. Dolores preferred the early service, less traffic, more gossip. Mason snored through his alarm, of course, leaving Evelyn to hustle both him and Arlo into clean shirts and half-polished shoes. Inside, padded pews creaked while Reverend Culpepper welcomed the flock, voice syrup low. "Friends, today we speak of mustard seeds, tiny things that move mountains." Evelyn smiled despite herself. The metaphor fit her secret jar like a glove. Mid-sermon, Mason leaned over, breath laced with spearmint gum and last night's beer. After church, breakfast at Grover's? They've got the game on. Dolores shot him a frosty glance. Sunday is family time. We're eating at home. Mason rolled his eyes, returned to doodling football routes on the tithing envelope. Evelyn inhaled the sanctuary's lemon oil scent and closed hers, picturing stainless steel commissary shelves, a griddle hissing with biscuit dough. Tiny things she thought mountains. By afternoon, Mason had vanished to run errands, code for a bar stool at Grover's Tavern. Dolores retreated for her ritual nap. Evelyn changed into jeans, collected receipts, and spread them across the kitchen table like puzzle pieces. 800 in the jar, 200 tucked in her apron. Today's overtime plus tips from selling last week's test batch of biscuits to coworkers. $1,000 neat and round. Arlo sprawled on the linoleum, coloring a new cardboard dinosaur. Mr. Razorclaw was still hostage at Ryder's house. Evelyn silently vowed to rescue him next visit. She opened her laptop, secondhand, screen flickering at the edges, and navigated to Bluegrass Food Cart Supply. The little Pioneer breakfast wagon winked from a banner ad, chrome finish, dual propane burners, fold-out pastry case. Sale price today only, $3,999. Her pulse ticked double time. 3,000 short, but with tax return, another month of overtime maybe. Arlo looked up. Mom, when's our cart coming? Soon, buddy. We're planting seeds. He nodded sagely. Like Pastor said. Evelyn clicked add to wish list, saved the quote, and shut the laptop before temptation overtook good math. Monday dawned heavy with July humidity. She stashed the jar, now 1,000, behind Mason's dusty deerhead trophies and hurried to Bluegrass Textiles. The line supervisor threw extra shifts like life rings. Evelyn grabbed two. When she clocked out at 9:30 p.m., her wrists buzzed from thousands of denim hems, but her ledger looked rosier. Back home, Mason was unusually chipper, clicking through used truck listings on his phone. Thinking I'll flip a Chevy S10, he announced. Easy profit. I just need a little capital. Warning bells chimed in Evelyn's skull. What happened to the landscaping side hustle you planned last month? Mason shrugged. Scrapped. Market's soft. He studied her face. You got any cash squirreled away? Evelyn dried a plate slowly, heart thudding. We're tight this month. Mortgage, school supplies, you know. He grunted, unconvinced, but too lazy to dig further, tonight. The following afternoon, Dolores summoned Evelyn with a stage whisper. Let's clear the attic. Church rummage sale next week. Evelyn agreed. Extra coins never hurt. They sorted boxes while thunderheads stacked in the western sky. Dolores reminisced over Mason's Boy Scout ribbons. Evelyn pocketed 50 cents from a mason jar of foreign coins. When Dolores left to stir meatloaf, Evelyn slipped into the master closet, pulled Mason's deerhead plaque aside, reached for the jar, and froze. Empty shelf. Empty jar. Her stomach plummeted. She shuffled clothes, checked boxes, even the dusty space behind a shoe rack. Nothing. $1,000 vanished. Mason's voice floated from the driveway. Yeah, man, just picked up the seed money. Tires squealed as a battered F-150 fishtailed down the street. Evelyn's hands shook. Rain battered the porch roof like gravel. Anger warred with panic, quickly giving way to focus. She marched to the kitchen. Dolores, did Mason take a jar from our closet? Dolores didn't glance up from the oven timer. If he did, I'm sure he needed it. He's the provider. He took $1,000 I've saved for months. Dolores sighed, as though correcting a child. A wife's money is household money. You want security, support your husband's ventures. Evelyn's voice went flat. His last venture racked up 2 past-due notices. Dolores bristled. Watch your tone. But Evelyn wasn't listening. She grabbed her raincoat, slipped Arlo's emergency savings, a rumpled $10 bill, into her pocket, and headed into the storm. Lightning forked over the river as Evelyn pushed through Grover's swinging doors. The tavern smelled of hops, fryer grease, and regret. Mason sat at a high top with two buddies. Stacks of green bills fanned like poker chips. A Craigslist ad on his phone showed a rusty Chevy. Runs great, $950 firm. Evelyn tapped the screen. You stole my savings. His buddies turned stone silent. Mason forced a smile. Borrowed, babe. Double it in a week. That money was for our future, not another Barnap project. Her voice quivered, but didn't break. You promised no more surprises. Mason's cheeks flushed. Don't embarrass me. Too late. She scooped the cash, stuffed it in her coat. This isn't yours. He stood, chair scraping. Give it back. Evelyn. She met his eyes, steady.
No.
For one electric moment the tavern seemed to hold a collective breath. Then Mason's friend Knox whistled low. Let her be, man. It's hers. Mason's shoulders sagged. Pride deflated. He sank onto his stool, muttering, Fine. Go play entrepreneur. Evelyn backed toward the door, rain pelting the windows like applause. Outside. Thunder rolled, but felt less menacing. Midnight found her at the kitchen table, counting damp bills under flickering light. $942, some lost to a puddle, but the bulk survived. She tucked the roll into a freezer bag, slipped it under Arlo's mattress where Mason never looked, and exhaled. Arlo stirred, half awake. Mom, just checking on my favorite guy, she whispered. He yawned, eyes heavy. Did our cart come yet? Not yet, she said, kissing his hair. But it's on its way. Back in a hallway, Evelyn pressed her hand to the wall. The house vibrated with Mason's snores and Dolores's sighs. They were mountains, yes, but mountains erode, grain by grain. And seeds, mustard or otherwise, find cracks. Tomorrow she would open a new savings account in her name only. She would set up automatic transfers, research city permits, bake test biscuits for the youth group bake sale. Tonight she allowed herself one moment of fragile triumph. Rain had washed Mockingbird Lane clean. Somewhere, under the streetlight, a single night-blooming Sirius opened. Unseen yet unstoppable, just like a breakfast cart still invisible to everyone but her son and herself. Friday came with a sticky August heat that wilted tomato vines and tempers alike. Evelyn left Bluegrass Textiles late. New orders for back-to-school jeans had every machine rattling overtime. She pictured Arlo eating fish sticks in front of the TV, pictured Dolores sighing about reheated food, pictured Mason. Well, Mason could be anywhere. Anywhere turned out to be the Caldwell living room. The moment Evelyn stepped inside, she smelled it. Hops, sweat, the metallic tang of poker chips. The ceiling fan struggled against cigarette haze. A cooler of light beer squatted on the rug like a lazy dog. Mason glanced up from a folding card table. Perfect timing, he said, trying for charm. Boys' night. Around him sat Knox, Big Knox, Whitaker, Benny Carter from the tire shop, and a newcomer Evelyn didn't recognize, a lean man with a ball cap, reading Shut Up and Fish. Evelyn kept her voice even. It's nearly 10. Arlo's asleep. Mason grinned. He'll sleep through a tornado. Grab yourself a drink, relax. Knox raised his bottle. Hey, Ev, you look sharp tonight. The words were friendly enough, but his gaze lingered where it shouldn't. Evelyn pretended not to notice. She checked the fridge, empty of actual food, then filled a glass of tap water and retreated to the hallway. Behind her she heard Mason shuffle cards. Buy-ins 20. Winner takes the pot. Upstairs she found Arlo awake, reading by flashlight under the quilt. Couldn't sleep, he whispered. They're loud. Evelyn kissed his temple. Give it 5 minutes. I'll hush them. Promise? Promise, she said, though promises felt fragile tonight. Downstairs Knox was telling a story about a bachelor party in Knoxville. Laughter spiked. The newcomer slammed the table. Chips scattered. Beer splashed over the felt. Mason cursed, mildly at least, then staggered toward the kitchen for paper towels. Knox followed, bottle in hand. Evelyn rinsed a mug at the sink. Knox edged beside her, elbow touching hers. Poker's more fun when you sit in, Ev. I'll pass. He chuckled. Mason's lucky, you know. Hard-working wife, pretty smile. His breath carried a yeasty funk. He leaned in, voice dropping. If he doesn't appreciate it, some of us might. Evelyn stepped sideways. That's enough, Knox. Come on, just saying what everybody thinks. His hand brushed her hip. Before she could reply, Mason re-entered, towels in fist. Knox straightened. All good here, he said, eyes glinting. Mason barely noticed. He was too busy dabbing beer off his phone screen. Evelyn walked away, pulse hammering. She considered ending the party, but each confrontation with Mason felt like pulling pins from a grenade. Instead, she waited. Midnight neared. Dolores, woken by laughter, shuffled in wearing foam curlers. Keep it down, she hissed. Mason waved her off with a lazy salute. Knox toasted her with a grin. Dolores retreated, muttering. At 12:30, Evelyn returned to the kitchen for chamomile tea, sleep armor. Knox appeared again, emboldened by booze and boredom. He trapped her between fridge door and counter, palm landing on the wall, near her shoulder. Knox, move. 5 minutes, that's all. He smelled of lager and old leather. Bet you don't get many compliments. That's not a compliment. She pushed his arm. He barely budged. Suddenly Mason's voice barked from the doorway. What the heck's going on? Knox stepped back half an inch. Relax, buddy, just chatting. Evelyn exhaled relief. Too soon. Mason's eyes narrowed. Not at Knox, but at her. You flirting again? Her jaw dropped. He cornered me. Knox laughed. Misunderstanding, that's all. Mason slammed the fridge door. I leave you alone 5 minutes, and you stir up drama. Benny appeared, scratching his beard. Knox, let's bounce. But Knox wanted spectacle. She's the one leaning in, man. He smirked. Something inside Mason snapped. He shoved Knox. The cooler tipped, spilling half-melted ice. Chairs toppled. Benny grabbed Knox's sleeve. Time to go. Bro. The newcomer slipped out silently, like smoke. Evelyn's hands shook, not fear, rage. Knox stumbled toward the porch, cursing about overreactive households.
Door slammed.
Engine roared away. Mason wheeled on Evelyn. Why do you always make me look stupid? Make you. She choked on disbelief. He touched me. You saw it. You could have said no without fireworks. I did. Her volume rose. She pictured Arlo flinching upstairs. She lowered it again. You let drunk men treat our house like a bar. You blame me when they disrespect your family. Mason's face burned crimson. If you didn't parade around acting better than everyone. Dolores re-entered, voice slicing the air. What did she do this time? Played victim, Mason answered. Evelyn stared at both of them. This is insane. Dolores folded her arms. You are dramatic, Evelyn. The words landed like pebbles on an avalanche already in motion. Evelyn felt the ground shift beneath her. Every skipped apology, every bruise, every stolen dollar added weight. She spoke quietly. I'm done. Mason laughed, as if mishearing. Done with what? With this cycle. She removed her apron, laid it on the back of a chair. With being blamed for other people's choices. Dolores scoffed. You'll crawl back by morning. Where would you even go? Somewhere safe. Evelyn walked past them, climbed the stairs 2 at a time. She packed fast, 3 outfits for herself, 2 for Arlo, toothbrushes, the freezer bag cache still under his mattress. A firewall of determination. Arlo sat up, confused. She knelt. We're taking a small trip.
Now.
Right now. He nodded, trust absolute, grabbed a comic book and a sock monkey flashlight. Mr. Razor Claw was missing, but some losses had to wait. Downstairs, Mason shouted. You leave, don't come back. I heard you, Evelyn replied, voice steady as river rock. Rain had started again, southern summer rhythm. She buckled Arlo into the Fiesta, tossed the duffel beside him, and turned the ignition. Mason stood on the porch, shirt half-buttoned, tears or rain streaking his cheeks. Dolores hovered behind him, mouth moving but inaudible over the storm. Evelyn eased onto the street. Arlo glanced back once, then faced forward. Small hand finding hers on the gearshift. "Mom, where's our safe place?" "We'll figure it out together," she said. The wipers beat time. Thunder grumbled like distant drums. "Remember what Reverend Culpepper said about mustard seeds?" Arlo nodded. "This drive is another seed." He squeezed her fingers. Outside, Mockingbird Lane faded into gray, along with the poker chips, the beer-stained carpet, the endless apologies. Ahead stretched Highway 12, slick but open, and Evelyn pressed the accelerator just hard enough to feel possibility tugging at the wheels. Headlights cut a wavering tunnel through the rain-lashed county road. 20 miles south of Milford, the landscape changed from river curves to rolling hayfields. Evelyn turned at a mailbox that read Hawthorne Ridge, EST 1891, tires crunching wet gravel. The farmhouse ahead glowed dim behind lace curtains. She parked. "Stay close, champ." Arlo clutched his sock monkey flashlight, but didn't tremble. Lightning flashed as they hurried up the porch. Before Evelyn knocked, the door swung open to reveal her father, Earl Hawthorne, denim overalls and a 12-gauge resting casual in the crook of one arm, standard storm night security. "Evie." His eyes narrowed at the duffel. "Just us, Dad." He lowered the shotgun, though not entirely the suspicion. "Clock says 1 a.m. "Had to leave," she said. "Can we crash on the couch?" Thunder boomed behind her for punctuation. Inside, the familiar scent of cedar closet and frying grease wrapped around her like an old quilt. Mary Hawthorne emerged, hairnet askew, robe dotted with tiny violets. She took in the scene. Her daughter's damp hair, grandson's wide eyes. "Kitchen. Hot cocoa," she said, both command and comfort. By sunrise the storm had passed, leaving steam rising off alfalfa. The kitchen table held its regular Sunday spread, skillet biscuits, pepper gravy, blackberry jam. Earl bowed his head over Grace, but the amen felt shorter than usual. Conversation began with farm report, soy futures, tractor belts, then circled its intended prey. "So," Earl said, buttering a biscuit, "what spat sent you fleeing at midnight?" Evelyn's fingers tightened around her mug. It was unsafe. Mason's friends crossed lines. Mary glanced at Arlo, who crumbled biscuit into jam. "Did he hit you again?" The again landed heavy. Evelyn chose a technical truth. "No fists last night. Words, blame, mess." Earl set his butter knife down with a soft clink. "Marriage vows say for better or worse. But worse isn't an everyday forecast. You want this fixed, you face it head on." Arlo looked from Grandpa to Mom. Evelyn offered a smile, thin, but enough. At 11:03 a.m., a red pickup rolled up the driveway. Dust still clung to yesterday's rain. Mason stepped out wearing his good flannel, hair combed, grocery bouquet of gas station carnations in hand. He inhaled deep like a man preparing for surgery, then knocked. Earl answered before Evelyn could intercept. "Boy, you best have a mighty fine reason." Mason removed his cap. "Sir, I came to apologize. To you, to ma'am, to Evelyn, most of all to Arlo." The words sounded rehearsed, but earnest enough to earn him entry. Living room summit. Mason on the edge of an oak rocker. Earl in his recliner, Mary with folded arms, Evelyn beside the sofa armrest like a co-counsel. Arlo perched on the stairs, silent witness. Mason cleared his throat. "I've been stupid. I let drinking and quick-fix ideas run my mouth and my life. Last night I lost control. It won't happen again." Earl's brow rose. "Swore that before, son." "I know." Mason's voice cracked. "I'll get help. Meetings at the Methodist Hall. Sell the poker set. No more buddies over." Mary softened first. "What about money you borrowed?" He pulled a bank envelope from his chest pocket. 942. I used 58 for gas and towing, but the rest's here. I'll repay every cent." Evelyn watched his hands tremble. Regret? Withdrawal? Either way, fear of losing his family was finally visible. She spoke. "Trust doesn't reset like a stopwatch. There will be rules." Mason nodded vigorously. "Anything." Dry 30, 30 sober days. Documented at local AA. No one invited guests. Home becomes child-safe zone after 8 p.m. Joint budgeting. All income into a new transparent checking account. Evelyn named co-signer. Counseling, weekly sessions with Pastor Culpepper or a licensed therapist. Mary pursed lips but said nothing. Earl scratched his jaw. Sounds fair. You break any. You answer to me, and to Kentucky state law if she presses charges. Mason swallowed, but the yes, sir, came steady. Earl insisted on driving behind them halfway to Milford, just in case the truck stalls. When the Fiesta turned down Mockingbird Lane alone, Evelyn's stomach knotted. The house looked unchanged, same peeling paint, same crooked swing, but crossing the threshold felt like stepping onto a stage after rewriting the script. Dolores met them at the door, cheeks flushed. You. She stopped at the sight of Earl's dust-coated pickup disappearing down the road. What did you promise this time? Mason steadied himself. Promise to fix things. Dolores sniffed. Talk is cheap. She retreated without further fight, maybe sensing Earl's watchful ghost in the driveway dust. Evelyn helped Arlo unpack. The boy retrieved his cardboard dinosaur, drew a brave smile. Safe for now. We'll try hard, she said, kissing his forehead. That night Mason ate quietly, washed dishes without prompting, collapsed on the couch clutching an AA pamphlet. Evelyn lay awake listening. No TV, no beer tabs popping, only cicadas and his unusually even breathing. She wanted to believe this lull was real, yet memory whispered cycles have intermissions. Wednesday afternoon, Evelyn left work early and walked 3 blocks to Riverstone Credit Union. She opened savings number 0481, sole signatory, E.G. Hawthorne. Minimum deposit. The gas station bouquet money recaptured, plus her overtime bonus, $260 total. Jar Cash would join soon, but she'd learned to split risk. Seeds deserved separate soil. She bought 2 spiral notebooks. One for biscuit recipes, one for expense logs. In biscuit book she wrote 4 words. Butter.
Heat. Hope.
Repeat. Day 21 of dry 30. Mason arrived home with a grin almost brighter than the sunset. Good news, he said, waving a printout. Old buddy offered me a management slot at his auto lot near Lexington. More money. Afternoons free. Alarm bells nudged Evelyn's ribs. Name of the lot? Bluegrass Dream Rides, he said, eyes flicking sideways. We'll celebrate this weekend. Maybe grab dinner at the Neon Horseshoe. He flipped the pamphlet face down. Evelyn noted the bar suggestion, the sudden paycheck promise, the sideways glance. Jar Cash remained under Arlo's bed, but her new account was safe at Riverstone. Mountains eroded slowly, some cracked wide with a single tremor. She smelled one on the horizon. Still, she nodded, playing for time. Let's make celebration small. Biscuits at sunrise? Mason laughed. Whatever you say, Biscuit Queen. The title made her smile. And stiffen too. Biscuit dreams were hers, untouched ground Mason hadn't yet claimed. She would walk carefully. For Arlo. For herself. For the mustard seeds sprouting quietly in ledger lines and late-night recipe notes. And if the line broke again, well, this time she already knew the detour out of town and the bank password that opened new doors. Saturday glowed peach on the horizon when Evelyn rolled biscuit dough for the church bake sale. Mason had left before dawn, orientation day at Dream Rides, kissing the air near her cheek, smelling of drugstore cologne and new hope. He even packed a lunchbox she'd filled the night before. Ham, apples, 2 butter biscuits. Progress, she told herself. By 9:30 the bake sale table outside Redemption Fellowship brimmed with tinfoil pans. Mrs. Porter sampled Evelyn's cheddar chive rounds and moaned loud enough to startle pigeons. Girl, you could charge Starbucks prices, she said, sliding a $5 bill into the collection can. Evelyn smiled, every bill a petal on her secret flower. Still, unease trailed her like a stubborn shadow. Mason had hugged Arlo a beat too long this morning, voice shaky. When Arlo asked, "Can I see your new lot later?" Mason had muttered, "Soon, champ," eyes darting. At noon, While the youth group packed leftovers, Evelyn's phone buzzed with a text from Tessa Quinn. Tessa, sighted. Mason's truck at Neon Horseshoe Bar. You okay? Evelyn's stomach pinched. Orientation day. Her thumbs hesitated. Her feet did not. The Neon Horseshoe squatted off Highway 22. A low brick rectangle with a flickering sign of a horse rearing in pink and aqua lights. Evelyn parked 2 spaces over from Mason's red pickup, heart punching her sternum. She reminded herself AA only met here Thursday nights. Today was Saturday, no meetings, just beer and karaoke. She dialed Arlo's prepaid cell. Sweetie, hang with Grandma Hawthorne 1 more hour. You okay, Mom? Just tying up a loose end, she said. He trusted that not. Inside, the bar smelled of fryer oil, spilled margarita mix, and bubblegum air freshener waging a losing war. Lynyrd Skynyrd crackled from tinny speakers. At a booth near the jukebox sat Mason, fresh flannel traded for a snug polo, and across from him, a woman with cherry cola lipstick twirling a straw. Evelyn recognized her from town gossip. Sloan Maddox, 20-something bartender turned brand ambassador for a regional seltzer. Last fall, Sloan's Instagram had advertised pumpkin spice moonshine. Evelyn remembered because the post title misspelled pumpkin. Sloan leaned across the table, manicured finger circling Mason's wrist. Evelyn ducked behind a support pillar. She felt cold confidence crystallize, proof for the ledger, reason for finality. She pulled out her phone, snapped 2 photos. Flash disabled, heart not. Sloan giggled. So, when are you really quitting drinking? Mason laughed low. After this celebratory round. I'm still on track. Celebratory? Evelyn nearly snorted. He ping-ponged from AA pamphlets to peach schnapps in 21 days flat. Evelyn considered confrontation versus silent exit. Confrontation won by a landslide. Mustard seeds sometimes need thunder. She stepped from the pillar, heels clicking like a judge's gavel. Mason's smile froze mid-sip. The color drained so fast she thought he'd faint. Sloane's gaze pinged Mason, then Evelyn, calculating hashtags. Celebrating, are we? Evelyn asked, voice level as a county clerk's. Mason fumbled. Business lunch. Sloane raised a perfectly arched brow. You didn't say you were taken. He mentioned family, Evelyn corrected. The way someone mentions orthodontic work, an awkward expense, not a commitment. Mason pushed his glass away. We were finalizing sponsorship for the dealership's tailgate event. What dealership? Dream Rides? I called, no orientation, no Mason Caldwell on roster. Evelyn slid her phone across the table. Photos glared up like tiny arrest warrants. You skipped step 3 on the trust rebuild plan. Tell the truth. Mason's voice cracked. I needed a win. Sloane's dad owns a lot in Danville. She said she could pull strings if I invested in promo. 1 lunch, that's all. 1 lie, that's all. Evelyn shot back. Lie's an addict's favorite appetizer. Patrons glanced over the rims of beer mugs. Someone whistled the Jeopardy theme. Sloane straightened, lipstick unblemished. Look, I don't date married guys. He said he was managing a separation. Evelyn blinked. Of course Mason had drafted a pre-narrative. So, Sloane continued, sliding out of the booth, grabbing her tote. Y'all hash that out. And Mason? Keep the seltzer swag. You'll need a drink. She sashayed toward the door, neon lights strobing across rhinestone heels. Mason sagged. Evelyn, I panicked. Bills stacking, Mom nagging. You and your secret biscuit thing. It's not a secret. It's a plan. He rubbed his temples. A plan that doesn't involve us. There it was, the pronoun fracture she'd feared yet expected. She inhaled. My plan involved a sober, honest partner. You opted out. Back at the house, Dolores was pruning potted mums on the porch. Mason trudged behind Evelyn like a schoolboy to the principal's office. Dolores clocked the tension. What happened now? Evelyn faced her. Ask your son where he spent orientation. Mason tried. Mom. Dolores raised a hand. If you embarrass the family again. Family's been embarrassed long before today, Evelyn said. But it ends now. I'm filing for divorce Monday. Dolores scoffed. Over a bar lunch? You'll ruin Arlo's stability. Stability isn't the same as stillness, Evelyn replied. A swamp is still. She stepped inside, collected the duffel still half-packed from 3 weeks earlier, added Arlo's framed class photo, and tucked the Riverstone passbook beside it. Mason watched from the doorway, silence stretching like taffy. You can keep the house, she said at last. It's never felt like home. Arlo descended the stairs, backpack ready though no one had told him. He took her hand. I guess the safe place moved again? Only once more, she promised. Next stop's ours. She guided him to the Fiesta. Mason followed to the gravel, voice trembling. Evie, please. I'll do real rehab, 30 days inpatient. You had 30 sober days in reach, she answered, starting the engine. You traded them for neon and lies. Dolores yelled something about lawyers and custody. Cicadas drowned her out. The Fiesta rolled toward the county courthouse square, where a motel advertised weekly rates, clean sheets, free cable. It would do. Evelyn paid for 7 nights in cash. Nobody could freeze cash. In room 106, Arlo spread homework on the small desk. TV off, air conditioner humming. Things felt doable. Evelyn dialed Tessa. Hey, can I crash on your couch after next week? And do you know a decent divorce attorney who takes payment plans? Tessa. Already texted 3 names. Proud of you, girl. Evelyn hung up, exhaled. The motel smelled of bleach and lemon, but also possibility. She opened her biscuit notebook and jotted a headline in red ink. Freedom Biscuit Company. Opening day budget. Arlo crawled onto the bed, watching her numbers dance. Mom, he asked, does freedom taste like biscuits? She laughed. First real laugh in weeks. Butter, salt, maybe honey, if we budget right. I'll help budget, he declared, sliding his math worksheet nearer. Outside, neon signs flickered across the motel lot like broken promises, but inside, Evelyn's mustard seed sprouted graphs and grocery lists. Mountains loomed still, forbidden phone calls, court forms, Mason's pleas, but she had found the trailhead at last. And her hiking boots were already laced. The Milford County Courthouse looked less like a temple of justice and more like an aging elementary school, sun-bleached brick, 2 sputtering fountains, and a bronze statue of Daniel Boone turning green at the boots. Yet on Monday morning its worn marble steps felt monumental to Evelyn. She tightened her grip on a manila folder, Riverstone passbook, police log of last year's noise complaints, AA no-show letter. Mason's sponsor had emailed her at dawn. Beside her, Arlo swung a lunchbox decorated with galaxies and rockets. Mom, what do judges wear? Gowns, but not the sparkly kind, she answered, smoothing his collar. Remember, tell the truth. Judges like truth the way dinosaurs like meat. Copy that, he said, sliding a miniature Mr. Razorclaw, finally retrieved during a supervised visit, into his pocket. Inside, attorney Carla Jennings greeted Evelyn with a firm handshake. Carla was 40-ish, sharp-eyed, and wore pumpkin orange glasses that made her look eager even when bored. Custody hearings move fast, she whispered, guiding Evelyn past a knot of spectators waiting for traffic citations. Stay calm, answer directly, don't engage Dolores. Mention of the name sent a chill down Evelyn's spine. She spotted her mother-in-law outside courtroom B, clutching a handkerchief like a stage prop. Mason hovered nearby, hair slicked, suit too tight across the shoulders. He avoided Evelyn's gaze. A bailiff called the case, Caldwell versus Caldwell, dissolution and custody. Evelyn exhaled as if preparing to swim underwater. Judge Ruth Callahan, mid-60s, silver hair braided down her back, requested opening remarks. Carla spoke of stability, sobriety, and a minor child's right to an environment free from intimidation. Mason's court-appointed attorney countered with phrases like second chances and mutual responsibility. Mason went first. He admitted to isolated lapses. He mentioned new enrollment at Serenity Springs inpatient rehab, set to begin next month. He claimed stable income from detailing cars at his cousin's shop. Evelyn noted his twitching knee under the table. Detox already knocking. Carla rose. Mr. Caldwell, when was your last alcoholic drink? Mason hesitated. Saturday afternoon. A beer. 2 peach schnapps, a seltzer sample, and half a pitcher of beer, Carla corrected, brandishing a printed neon horseshoe receipt timestamped 3:42 p.m. Mason's lawyer objected. Judge Callahan overruled. Next, Evelyn testified, voice steady though palms damp. She described the jar theft, Knox's harassment, Arlo's disrupted sleep. She stopped short of vengeance, anchoring every story in times, dates, and photographs. Dolores took the stand last, tears already cued. Evelyn exaggerates. My son loves that boy more than life. She's ripping a good family apart. Carla displayed 3 text screenshots where Dolores called Evelyn a drama magnet and ungrateful each. Dolores sniffed, claiming misinterpretation. Judge Callahan's brow rose like a drawbridge. In Kentucky, judges sometimes meet children privately. Arlo entered chambers holding razor claw. 10 minutes later he emerged, looking relieved. Judge Callahan returned to the bench. Expression unreadable. The minor child, she said, expressed a clear, consistent preference to reside with his mother, whom he describes as the safe parent who makes biscuits. A ripple of laughter broke tension. Callahan's gavel tapped once for order. She continued, this court grants primary physical custody to Evelyn Grace Hawthorne. Mason Riley Caldwell is awarded supervised visitation Saturdays 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Milford Family Center until completion of 90 consecutive days documented sobriety. Child support set at $450 monthly, effective immediately. Dolores gasped as though stabbed by the numbers. Mason wilted. Evelyn's knees nearly buckled, relief heavier than dread. The gavel fell. Case adjourned. Outside, Mason approached. His eyes were red, but words measured. I messed up. Judge was fair. Evelyn nodded. Stay sober. You'll see Arlo more. That part's up to you. He swallowed. I'll try. Dolores opened her mouth to speak, anger ready, but Mason lifted a palm.
Mom, not now.
Shock flashed on her face. She obeyed. Evelyn tucked the moment away, like unexpected sunlight. Carla joined Evelyn at the fiesta. Next step, finalize property division. They can keep the house if they refinance. I want nothing but a restraining order line they can't cross, Evelyn muttered. Carla grinned, admiring the fire. Back at room 106, Arlo spun on the desk chair. Do I have to change schools? Not now, Evelyn said, folding courtroom clothes into the duffel. We'll stay at Miss Tessa's till we find an apartment near Maplewood. You'll still catch the same bus. He exhaled dryly. Good. I just memorized the lunch menu. That evening Tessa's sofa unfolded into a surprisingly comfy bed. The apartment smelled of lavender wax melts and fresh ground coffee, worlds from bleachy motel linens. Tessa placed a celebratory pizza on the coffee table. Half pepperoni, half freedom biscuit toppings, eggs, and cheddar. Evelyn laughed. You mad scientist. They ate until worry felt too full to wiggle. Within a week, Carla secured a temporary protective order. Mason began detox at Serenity Springs, verified. Evelyn applied for a city food vendor license, paid the $75 fee from her saving account's growing balance of $3,200, bake sales, extra shifts. Child support down payment. Tessa's neighbor, graphic design intern Miguel, created a logo pro bono, a biscuit shaped like Kentucky, with steam rising. The name, Freedom Biscuit Company, curved in sunrise orange above it. Evelyn filed an LLC on LegalZoom, still shocked by her own chutzpah. Permit in hand, stainless steel cart delivered curbside. Evelyn and Tessa towed the little Pioneer breakfast wagon to the Milford Farmers Market. Dawn painted the sky salmon. They set chalkboard prices. Buttermilk Classic, $3. Cheddar Chive, $3.50. Honey Cinnamon, $3.50. Add Farm Egg Scramble plus $1. Lines formed before the coffee pot finished perking. Mrs. Porter bought a dozen, declaring them better than prayer. The high school marching band director pre-ordered 50 for Friday practice. By 10 a.m. the SWLDOUT sign hung with pride. Evelyn emptied the cash drawer, $6.12 gross. $200 profit after ingredients and market fee, into a locking bank pouch. Arlo, wearing a tiny apron, fist bumped her. "Freedom tastes buttery," he declared, cheeks dusted with flour. Packing up, Evelyn saw a familiar figure near the exit. Declan Reyes, college love turned traveling large animal vet, holding a bag of heirloom tomatoes. He lifted a hand, smiling. Her pulse skipped. "Your biscuits causing traffic jams," he said. "Bought the last honey cinnamon." "Should have charged you late fee," she teased, surprised at how natural it felt. They caught up briefly. He'd accepted a contract at a nearby equine hospital, renting a cottage off River Road. She mentioned the wagon, the custody ruling, compressed into 3 brave sentences. Declan tapped the logo sticker on the cart. "Freedom biscuit, is that taste tested on ex-boyfriends?" She chuckled. "Only those who pay double." He offered a mock salute, promised to return next Saturday with appetite and possibly a coffee sponsorship idea. Arlo watched, eyebrows wiggling. "Mom, is that the orchard guy?" Evelyn blushed. "First time in months." "Long story, chef. Help me hitch the cart." Late that night, under Tessa's porch string lights, Evelyn updated her ledger. Starting balance, $3,200. Market profit, plus $200. Balance, $3,400. $400 more to meet the down payment on a 2-bedroom duplex she'd toured that afternoon. The landlord liked biscuit samples. Discount hinted. The mustard seed was no longer invisible. It was a sapling leafing out in spreadsheets and signed court orders. Evelyn closed the notebook, listened to cicadas harmonize with distant train horns, and allowed herself a single, luxurious breath of certainty. Mountains were still out there, but she now carried footholds in her pocket: cash slips, a business license, a custody decree, and a boy who could fix a spreadsheet as fast as a toy dinosaur. Next Saturday's sunrise would come early. Biscuit dough waited for no one. Yet for the first time, dawn felt like invitation rather than deadline, a doorway she and Arlo could walk through without looking back. October air drifted over Milford like cool linen, tugging the last threads of summer from the maples that lined Main Street. Freedom Biscuit's wagon now claimed a permanent Saturday corner near the market fountain, its bright orange awning impossible to miss among pumpkins and jars of sorghum. The cash box creaked with honest weight. Arlo's math notebook tracked profits better than any spreadsheet. For the first time in years, life felt level. No spikes of terror, no sudden drops. Just a steady uphill grade. Then Serenity Springs left a voicemail. "Mr. Caldwell discharged himself on day 41, the counselor said. He cited family emergencies. We urged completion, but he signed out AMA." Evelyn pressed the phone to her chest. Day 41, 49 short of the court's sobriety mark. She texted Carla Jennings the update, filed the message in a folder labeled possible storms, and kept kneading dough. There was nothing to do until the judge reviewed Mason's lapse, and biscuits still needed baking. 3 Thursdays later, the new duplex smelled of rosemary candles and pumpkin muffins cooling on the stove. Tessa and Miguel had helped paint the kitchen robin egg blue. Declan drilled curtain rods while Arlo quizzed him on velociraptor speeds. Progress, inside jokes, gentle flirting, all breathable. At 11:17 p.m., Evelyn flipped the close toggle on her bookkeeping app. Rain tapped the roof like a polite visitor. Her phone buzzed, unknown number. She almost let it slide to voicemail. Instinct nudged her thumb. "Miss Hawthorne?" a man asked, voice low and professional. "Deputy Collins, County Sheriff. Are you able to speak?" She braced against the counter.
Yes.
"There's been a single vehicle accident on Highway 12 involving a red pickup registered to Mason Riley Caldwell. He's in critical condition at St. Gabriel's. You're listed as emergency contact." Her breath left in a short, stunned burst. Was anyone else hurt?
No, ma'am.
Weather was slick, alcohol suspected. "Thank you, deputy," she managed. "I'll notify his mother." After hanging up, Evelyn stood very still, palms flat on cool laminate. Sage smoke curled toward the ceiling. She whispered a fragment of prayer that landed somewhere between mercy and resignation. Mason never regained consciousness. He slipped away before dawn. Dolores rang before the funeral home finished paperwork. "He's gone," she sobbed, accusation woven into grief. "And it started the night you deserted him." "I'm sorry for your loss," Evelyn said softly, but his choices were his own. Judge Callahan, informed by the sheriff's report, signed an order terminating Mason's parental rights by operation of law. No victory had ever felt hollower. St. Matthew's Chapel was small, pine pews, hymn numbers hanging crooked. Reverend Culpepper spoke of second chances and roads taken too fast. Mason's casket rested beneath a spray of red carnations, the same brand he once bought at the gas station. When the pastor invited memories, Evelyn rose. Heart steady, words simple. "Mason was once a man who could fix any squeaky hinge and make our son laugh like a busted fire hydrant." Somewhere along the way, the bottles spoke louder than love. "I pray he's found the silence he could never hold here." She sat, the chapel side. After the benediction, Dolores approached, eyes rimmed red. For a moment, Evelyn braced for venom, but the older woman only whispered, "Take care of my grandson," and clasped Evelyn's hand with surprising gentleness. A drizzle sheeted the cemetery. Arlo placed a single white lily on fresh soil, then tucked razor claw beside it, plastic claws gripping damp earth. "Dinosaurs guard treasures," he said. Evelyn knelt. "Your dad would like that." She wiped rain from his cheek. Maybe it was a tear. They walked back to the fiesta, hand in hand, boots squelching. That evening she sorted Mason's old mail, dealer flyers, overdue bills, and sealed what belonged to Dolores in a padded envelope. Closure, she decided, came in envelopes and signatures as much as in prayers. Back home, Evelyn updated the custody ledger one last time. No more supervised visit rows, no column for support due. She closed the file and opened a fresh spreadsheet titled Growth Plans 2026. Portable espresso machine, quote $900. Weekend biscuit classes at the community center. Scholarship fund. Arlo Caldwell Hawthorne College seed. She saved the document just as Declan knocked, thermos in hand. "Apple cider tea," he offered. She accepted, inhaling spice and steam. "Long day," she admitted. They watched fog lift off the river. After a while, Declan spoke. "Grief's a river too. You don't dam it. You learn where to ford." Evelyn traced the thermos lid with her thumb. "Good thing I own boots." Declan chuckled. "And I happen to know a vet who's pretty good at mending fences, literal and otherwise." She smiled, small, real. Inside, Arlo's laughter floated from the kitchen where Tessa coached him through muffin glazing. Mountains remained on the horizon, but the road ahead was paved, visible, and entirely hers to drive. Spring arrived early the next year, turning Kentucky redbuds into lavender fireworks against a robin-egg sky. On the corner of Orchard Street, 3 blocks from Milford's courthouse, stood a freshly painted storefront. Wide windows, crisp white trim, an orange and sunrise sign that read Freedom Biscuit Cafe. Below the lettering, Miguel's Steaming Kentucky logo winked like an old friend. Inside, Evelyn inhaled the mingled scent of butter, espresso, and new beginnings. Soft jazz played. Copper pendant lamps glowed over 6 reclaimed wood tables. Tessa wiped the last streak from the pastry case. Miguel fussed with a now open easel out front. Arlo, now 10, legs suddenly longer, tested the cash drawer bell with the gravity of a bank auditor. Evelyn smoothed her apron. "All right, troops, 15 minutes till doors." Arlo grinned. "Launch sequence ready." From the back hallway, Declan emerged in rolled-sleeve flannel, flour on one cheek. Sourdough sausage biscuits cooling. Espresso dialed. Owner's pulse. Evelyn pressed 2 fingers to her neck. About 1,000,000 beats per minute. Declan handed her a warm biscuit half. Carb therapy. She bit, tasted butter and sage and history. The road from food cart to brick and mortar had been paved with farmers market Saturdays, pop-up brunches, and a microloan from the community bank secured the same week Arlo's college seed fund passed $2,000. Mountains, indeed, could move. At 9 on the bell jingled. First inside was Mrs. Porter, church hat tipped jauntily. "I've prayed for this day," she declared, buying a honey cinnamon dozen and slipping a 20 into the tip jar labeled Future Scholarship. By 10:30, every table was full. The high school marching band streamed in after practice. Declan served lattes with foam dinosaur art. Miguel live-streamed the buzz for Freedom Biscuit socials. #, Dream on Orchard. Evelyn worked the line, filling orders, laughing, forgetting to feel nervous. When the rush eased, she glanced at the door and froze. Dolores Caldwell stood on the threshold, hands folded around a small pot of yellow pansies. Time thinned. Evelyn wiped her palms on her apron and approached. "Morning, Dolores." The older woman's face held something new, fatigue. Maybe humility. "Place looks nice," she said. "Smells like home used to." Evelyn gestured to a quiet table near the window. They sat. Dolores set the pansies between them. "For your windowsill," she murmured. "Mason planted these behind the garage one spring. They come back every year, no matter the heat." Evelyn traced the terracotta rim. "Thank you." Dolores inhaled shakily. "I wasn't kind to you. Losing my son didn't make that right. I wanted you to know I'm trying to do better." Evelyn felt tension slip a notch. "Grief twists us. We untwist when we can." Dolores's gaze found Arlo balancing a tray of biscuits. "He's grown. He's thriving," Evelyn said, pride bright. "I'd like to see him, when appropriate." Evelyn nodded once. "We can arrange short visits at the community center to start." Dolores's shoulders fell, relief or resignation. Hard to tell. "I'll honor your rules," she said, eyes welling. Evelyn offered a napkin and, after a moment's thought, a gentle half-smile. Mountains eroded. Valleys could heal. Closing time came with applause from lingering friends and the sweet chaos of first-day receipts. After mopping floors, Evelyn, Declan, Tessa, Miguel, and Arlo gathered under the pendant lights with root beer floats to toast a flawless launch. Tessa raised her glass. To butter, courage, and Wi-Fi that held. Miguel added, to design fees payable in biscuits for life. Declan tapped his float against Evelyn's. To dreams that refuse to stay buried. Later, when the others left, Declan locked the door and flipped the sign to "See you at sunrise." He joined Evelyn on a back patio bench overlooking a pocket garden she planned to turn into a mini orchard, 5 dwarf apple trees arriving next week. A wink to the future she once pictured under sycamores. Fireflies blinked between jars of citronella. Declan cleared his throat. "I've been offered the permanent vet post at River Road Equine. No more contract hopping. If I accept, that cottage needs a second rocking chair." Evelyn's heartbeat skittered. "Is that a literal purchase order or?" He laughed softly. "An invitation. No rush. But someday, maybe this biscuit empire expands to 2 rocking chairs and a porch." She pictured it. Dawn deliveries, shared ledgers, evenings swapping orchard progress reports. "Porches are nice,"
she said.
"Rocking chairs even better." He squeezed her hand. No push for answers. From the cafe door, Arlo appeared, pajamas peeking beneath an apron. "Mom, your spreadsheet is missing labor costs. You forgot my raise." Evelyn feigned shock. "Your raise? You're on profit share, remember?" He grinned, waving a notebook titled Arlo's Expansion Ideas. Page 1 featured a crude drawing of a shipping truck labeled Biscuit Bus heading to State Fair 2027. Declan whistled. "Kid thinks big." Evelyn tousled Arlo's hair. "He gets it honest." At 4:50 a.m. Evelyn unlocked the cafe kitchen alone, her favorite pocket of quiet. She measured flour, salted butter cubes, folded dough on marble. Cinnamon scented the air. Espresso machine hissed awake. Through the window, she saw first light spread across Orchard Street like apricot jam. She paused, palms dusted white, and remembered nights of broken glass, motel bleach, courthouse echoes. Remembered the jar behind the deer trophy, the storm drive to Hawthorne Ridge, the neon glare of betrayal. Each memory now felt distant, not in denial but in context, stepping stones across a river she'd already crossed. She whispered thanks to resilience, to allies, to mustard seeds, then slid trays into the oven. Timer set. She stepped outside. The pansies Dolores had gifted glowed yellow against the sill, already lifting sleepy petals toward morning. Evelyn breathed in cool air, tasted dough on her tongue, and felt certainty settle like sunlight on warm tin. The mountains were behind her, the orchard ahead, and between them a cafe full of room to rise. She flipped the door sign to open, a word that, at last, described more than the hours. And that brings us to the end of today's story on Truistery Vibes. Don't forget to leave a comment with a quote or moment that touched you the most. Your words give our team the motivation to keep creating more heartfelt stories. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you again soon.